Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about panic attacks and the 7 ways that we can stop them from happening. But before we jump into that, I want to make sure that we all understand what panic attacks are and are not. I know people tend to misuse mental health terms to describe how they feel. Like, oh, that was so stressful, I had a panic attack. So here is a quick breakdown of what a panic attack is. According to the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, I know it's not the end-all be-all, but it's the best we've got. So according to it, panic attacks are an abrupt surge of intense fear or intense discomfort that reaches a peak within minutes. During that time, you experience 4 or more of the following symptoms: pounding heart, sweating, shaking, shortness of breath, feeling like you're choking, chest pain, nausea, dizziness, chills or heat sensations, numbness, derealization, fear of losing control or going crazy, and fear of dying. I know that's a lot, but you have to experience 4 or more of those. Panic attacks themselves are not a diagnosis. However, panic disorder is. And it also includes us worrying about having a panic attack and doing things to avoid any situation that we think could cause them. Okay, now that we know what panic attacks are, let's get into ways that we can better manage them and possibly prevent them from happening altogether. My first tip is to get better acquainted with our anxiety symptoms. Everyone is going to experience their panics differently. And as you just heard, there are a ton of different symptoms, so it's best to start tracking what it is you feel. When your anxiety begins, where does it start? Is it in our breath? What happens next? Do your thoughts and heart start to race? Then your palms begin to sweat? Are there certain times of day or any patterns around when our anxiety ramps up? The more that we know about our anxiety, the more quickly we can recognize that it's happening and do something to calm ourselves back down. And I know that anxiety can feel like it comes out of nowhere. And I'm not asking you to figure out why it started or what brought it on, rather how it feels when your panic or anxiety is just beginning or we feel it building up. That gives us more time to use our coping skills before we have a full-blown attack. Which moves us nicely into my second tip, and that is figuring out what coping skills calm us down best. And we're going to have to make time to do this when we feel calm and okay. If we're already anxious or feeling our anxiety build, we aren't going to be able to think clearly or come up with anything. The time to work on this is when we feel good. And I know a lot of professionals and people out there say to try breathing exercises because they're best and that's what's going to help you. But and to be honest, in my experience, they don't work at all, and they can even make the anxiety worse. And the only reason I bring that up is so that you don't feel any pressure to use coping skills that don't work for you just because someone says that they should. It's better that we just try out some, see which ones make us feel better. And these can be things like stretching, using a fidget toy or silly putty, coloring, talking to a friend, journaling, putting together a new playlist, and so much more. I have an older video where I offer up 24 coping skills. Some are distraction-based skills, and others are there to help us process through what we're thinking, feeling, and the comments are filled with so many other ideas. So check that video out. It can really help you start your own coping skill list. I also want to mention that it's important for us to have some coping skills that we can use no matter what time of day it is. For example, we can't always call a friend or text someone at 3 in the morning. They might just not be available because they're probably sleeping. So we're going to have other things that we can do instead. So just keep that in mind when you're creating your list and make sure you have, 5 or so things that you can do during the day and another 5 that you can do in the middle of the night if needed. It's also helpful to use our 5 senses when coming up with these things. Sometimes a scent like lavender or bergamot, someone in our community told me that is supposed to be a grounding scent, so maybe get your hands on that. But those can help calm us down, or a cinnamon candy can pull our focus to its spiciness and away from maybe the worry thoughts. Or taking a warm bath, looking at kittens online, or petting an animal. Consider some of the ways you can incorporate all 5 senses into your coping skill list. My next tip is to get extra support. Fighting against our anxiety or trying to keep a panic attack at bay can be difficult and at times feel impossible. Having people in our life who understand what we're going through and can offer support and reassurance when we need it, it can be a total game changer. This could be a professional like a therapist, a psychologist or psychiatrist, but it can also be friends and family. And I know many of us aren't comfortable telling people about our anxiety, but we're going to have to pick at least one person that we know would seek to understand us and would be open to helping. Maybe this is a good friend from work, or a sister, a cousin, or someone at church. Whoever it is, we need to reach out and start talking little by little. Remember, from past videos, hopefully you know, we don't want to overwhelm people with a ton of information all at once, but we can start a conversation and share as we need to. That will set us up for success as we work to overcome our panic attacks. Oh, and when it comes to professional help, a therapist is best if you're looking for support, only because psychiatrists, they aren't always the warmest or most available people. They're doctors, and they can often try to focus solely on our medication and how well we're tolerating it. So finding a therapist who can offer tools and resources for the time in between your sessions is key too. They may even be able to refer you to a group therapy for anxiety, which could be helpful as well. Another tip for keeping our panic attacks at bay is to recognize situations or people who cause our anxiety to rise and avoid them until we get better control over the symptoms. I'm not saying we should avoid these people forever, only until we have more skills that work. Remember tip number 2? Then we can use some exposure therapy techniques to allow us to re-engage with them. These skills can be things like journaling, using a fidget toy, rubbing our hands together, texting or calling a friend, stepping out of the room for a second briefly, like I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick, or offering to put the jackets away, things like that. We'll have to figure out what works best for us. So feel free to try some different ones out until you have 5 to 10 that work for you. Also, I want to add to this tip that if we do have some toxic relationships that always leave us feeling anxious and bad about ourselves, I give you full permission to end those. And even if we get better at managing our anxiety symptoms, we don't have to re-engage with them. I just wanted to add that in because bad relationships are bad relationships, and it will take 2 to make it better. Us doing the work and getting better with our anxiety isn't going to magically make things that they're responsible for better too. This doesn't work that way. Next is to find your safe or neutral place. Once you have a better handle on your symptoms and can feel when they're coming on, we'll want to have our skills ready, and also a place that we can go to in our mind that feels okay. I used to always ask my patients to come up with a safe place, but recently I was talking with my good friend Dr. Alexa Altman, and she told me that people with complex PTSD, or any kind of PTSD symptoms really, can have a difficult time coming up with a safe place because the word safe means vulnerable, and that can be anxiety or fear-inducing. So a neutral place, like going through your morning routine of making coffee, washing your face, brushing your teeth, etc., or even folding laundry or running errands. Anything that just feels kind of blah and neutral can really work. Or if it feels okay to you, you can find a safe or happy place, like a good memory or a cozy place that calms you down. So just take some time and think of some options and then try them out. Visualize yourself in that place and see if it's calming or not. And if it's not, then let's try out another one. My hypothesis about anxiety is that its core reason for existing in our lives is lack of self-confidence and/or our ability to speak up for ourselves. And that's why my 6th tip is to start noticing what you say to yourself and using your bridge statements like never before. Did you know that over 90% of the thoughts you have each day are thoughts that you've already had before? Did you hear that? We have had these thoughts before, probably for days, weeks, or even years of our life. Make sure the thoughts we're allowing are more balanced and kind. And bridge statements come into play because we all know we can't just pretend that we love ourselves and feel confident, but we can be open to the thought that maybe we don't have all the facts. We could be making some assumptions, and it's possible that we could be perceived as better than we thought. It's possible. You see, bridge statements live in the possibilities, the maybes, and the coulds. They keep us open to new thoughts that are more balanced and fact-checked, and not so negative. I know the work can feel tedious and annoying, but trust me when I tell you that if we all just took a week to check our most common thoughts, check the facts to back those thoughts up, and work to come up with some, maybe just a few bridge statements, we would all feel so much calmer and less anxious. And finally, my 7th tip is medication. And I'm not a psychiatrist, but medications like SSRIs, SNRIs, otherwise known as antidepressants, and benzodiazepines can be a life raft when we feel like we're drowning in the symptoms of our panic disorder. This doesn't mean we have to stay on them forever, but sometimes our symptoms just become unmanageable. And medication can help us feel a bit better so that we can do the work that we need to do in therapy. And if you feel like medication could help you overcome your anxiety, reach out to a psychiatrist in your area for more information and options. I hope you found that helpful. Panic attacks are extremely common, but I hope this video reminded you of all the ways that we can prevent them from continuing to happen. Because with the right support and therapeutic tools, it can and will get better. And as always, please share any other tips that have helped you overcome your panic disorder. Are there things you think that I left out? Please let me know in those comments down below, and I will see you next time. Bye.